俺たちの絆の勝利だ。
何このポーズ。
俺たちはいつの間にこんなポーズを。
The Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. This was episode number 2, and man, I needed this. This episode was just perfection. So I have been on vacation for the past few days. So essentially all of today, all throughout today, I had today off. Thankfully, it was Martin Luther King Day. Hey, I had a dream to finish all of my anime reviews today. But I've been watching like 10 anime. This was number 8 out of 10. And I really needed this one. I hadn't really laughed today. Although I've watched some really good shows today, I haven't really laughed. The only one I actually really laughed at was like the very first one I watched today, which was Madaka Kuraiwa is Impervious to My Charms. But after that, I haven't laughed, and I needed this episode. This was such a breath of fresh air. It was such a refresher. And one of the things I was worried about going into this episode was like, oh, is the charm, is the shtick of the Red Ranger beating another world, is that going to end? Is it going to get old? And it didn't. This episode was just so goated and so good. Like, I want to take you down like a stream or a memory lane, a stream. I don't even know. Considering we just all watched the episode. But essentially, we have Togo, who has been kind of narrating all the experiences and everything. And he's working with 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵, and she has a kerfuffle, a tussle with a couple of adventurers. And they are dissing her, and she is dissing them, right? So they have a back and forth. And Togo finally decides, okay, hey, let's not brawl. Let's settle this via a quest. Let's go do a quest. Whoever wins the quest first, you're the winner of this thing. Instead of fighting each other, let's do what adventurers do. And this leads them into a dungeon, and they fight this big enemy. And while they're not able to win, there's a few things that end up happening. During the fight with smaller enemies, he summons the Zords, right? He summons the Power Ranger Zords, and they don't fit in the cave. Okay, that is realistic, and that is hilarious, right? If the Power Rangers were to exist, it makes sense that the Zord's not going to fit everywhere. So he summons the Zord, it doesn't work, he can't get into it, everything else, okay? So that's hilarious and that's funny. Then they come across the big enemy, and they kind of lose. They lose on, they lose on the enemy because he summons this big old like weapon that all the Rangers need to put all their bonds together, and it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵 and the two random adventurers, like they're not meshing. They're oil and water. So he tells his story he narrates about how the Yellow Ranger and the Blue Ranger were fighting, and until they made up, it wouldn't work. And after it doesn't work, he gets messed up. Togo gets messed up, and through him getting messed up, the two random adventurers come in to save 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵, just like she saved them prior. And their bonds are now forged. And through it, he's like, I feel... He's like dead already, okay? He's like down in the cave. He's like, I feel a bond. And he just, bond power. It's so ridiculous and so silly. But after that, he summons the thing again. They're able to do the victory blaster or something all together. And then they all pose. And even the two random adventurers like, why are we posing? Like, I just like... My body I couldn't control myself. I'm posing. Even 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵 was like, yeah, she was posing too. And it's just hilarious. It was just so absolutely hilarious. Then you sprinkle in the other moments that occurred in this episode with two other characters, two blue or purple hair characters getting introduced at the end. Apparently they're trying to save the world. Okay, that's a new thing that's coming. We got introduced to Togo being afraid of needles because 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵's trying to figure out where his powers come from. Then 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵 and Togo both get their stat plates. And essentially you touch it and tells you like, hey, here's your strength, here's your dexterity, here's your agility, here's your points, right? Well, for him, it was a big Power Ranger ad. And his stat plate came up the same way as 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵, but his is just like... 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵's like, yo, why is his kick power and his punch power different? And why does this burn at 60,000 degrees? And like, and then even it has a video that plays just like like what do they call it? Like an extra feature on a Blu-ray, like an ad that plays for Togo. And it's just a Power Ranger ad of like him kicking ass. And she's just like, what am I looking at? Why does it look so different? And it's just absolutely goated and it's hilarious. So I think this was like I could find fault in it. I say this was a 9 out of 10 episode. This was absolutely fantastic. I laughed so hard and it's just so dumb and it's just so silly and it just works. It works. Of course, like everything else in the world, I might get old. It might get old. It might get tired. You know what I mean? We'll see. But if they keep up this pace, this might be one of, like, legitimately, this might be the hidden gem of the season. It was just so, so good. So yeah, The Red Ranger, Another World, absolutely goated. This was fantastic. This was a great episode. I absolutely loved it. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. I imagine that if you're joining me for episode 2, I imagine you liked episode 1. Episode 1 was so daunting. It's either going to grab you or it lost you. It's either you like it or you hated it. I don't think that a person who hated it or was like, I don't know about this, is going to transition to episode 2. So I imagine you liked it too. So let me know your guys' thoughts and if you're going to keep watching. And if you were on the fence, like, I'll give it one more, let me know what you guys thought as well. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Peace out, Rangers.